Hi, I'm Marissa, and today we're going to be evaluating the theory of goals, plans, action. And its abbreviation is GPA. Not the GPA you're attempting to get up right now, but it's a theory written by J.P. Dillard in 1990 that addresses kind of the idea of message production and evaluating how through creating goals and having a plan to achieve those goals and then carrying out an action to actually achieve those goals is how we have message production. And we'll furthermore understand that this theory has truths that it does in fact admit to. First, it identifies that the world is objective and knowable, but it also understands that the interactions that we have with people are often socially constructed. And also, furthermore, GPA assumes that individuals are conscious of the messages that they create. And we'll see this further through this idea. But first off, we're going to evaluate GPA. And essentially, GPA consists of 3 steps. First is obviously going to be goals. So you're going to have goals in your life. And we'll see this is going to be future sides of affairs that an individual is committed to achieving. So it's what people want to do. So say you and I have the goal of wanting to get a piece of chocolate cake. Our goal is going to be to get that chocolate cake. And that's going to motivate us to make a plan to get it, which is going to be the second step, our plans. And this is the mental representation of messages that are intended to enable goal attainment. So it's essentially this idea that you're wanting to obtain these goals and you're going to make the plan to do so. And then finally is going to be the actions. So the messages that people actually say in efforts to realize their goals. And we can understand this through the idea that oftentimes whenever we miss class, we want to borrow notes from someone else. So we'll have the goal to get notes from someone. Then we'll make the plan to ask Stuart for those notes. And then we'll ask Stuart for those notes. So actually carrying out that plan and attaining that goal is how you get through the theory of GPA. So although this is just a brief synopsis of what the goal, plans, action theory is, we're going to furthermore understand each little section. So first off, starting with goals, there's 2 types of goals. First, there's influence goals or primary goals, and then secondly, there's secondary goals, obviously. But first, understanding the primary goals or the influence goals that we have. And this is going to be consisting of 3 main aspects. First, the idea that primary goals are often taking part in initiating this message production. So it's kind of lying at the beginning of this message production and it's going to initiate this process. Secondly, we break these main ideas into like subunits. And thirdly, goals determine which aspect of the situation is perceived or not. So it's the direct mental operation. And now we're also going to evaluate the secondary goals, which we can never see whenever we're wanting a romantic relationship. We have the goal of obtaining that romantic relationship, but we also have secondary goals that come with that. So a secondary goal would potentially be avoid feeling hurt. But obviously our first main goal is going to be the idea that we don't want to be rejected. So that's going to be the main goal. But there are secondary goals with whatever goals that we have in mind. And we can see this through 5 main lenses. First, the identify goals. And this focuses on ethical, moral, and personal standards of behavior. So this is kind of the idea that often children will even step over other kids just to get a piece of chocolate cake. But adults have the personal standards to not do so. I mean, some would, but most of them wouldn't because they have these personal standards and they focus on the identify goals. And secondly, the conversation management goals. And this is the impression management and saving face, essentially. And third is relational resource goals. And this is relationship management, so focusing on the relationship. Fourth is personal resource goals, and this is reflecting physical, temporal, and material concerns of the communicator. So specifically focusing on the needs of the communicator. And then finally, effect management goals, and trying to create and maintain preference effective state. So that's kind of what the last goal is, and those are all the secondary goals. But furthermore, we're going to understand the plans, and specifically the influence plans that can come after having these goals. So this is going to be the mental guidelines for the production of verbal and nonverbal behavior. So there are 2 plans, and this is going to be the strategic level plans, which are the lines of action and sequence of behavior. So these are kind of subjective, but whenever looking to the tactic plans, these are more concrete ideas, that they're not just subjective to change because of sequences of behavior or lines of action. And now finally, we're going to evaluate action and how we're going to have these goals. We're going to create these plans to obtain those goals. And then finally, we're going to take action to truly obtain the goals, or at least have this message production. And this is going to consist of 4 main elements. First is going to be explicit action. And these are messages that require little to no guesswork. And it's obviously going to be clear that it's going to have transparent it's going to have transparent intentions. And so this one's obviously going to be, there's not going to be a lot of deciphering going on. It's going to take little to no effort to actually understand the message. Secondly is going to be dominance. And this is going to be the power of the source compared to the target as expressed in message. So it's focusing mainly on the source that's giving it, and it kind of evaluates how the source is trying to have it interpreted, but how they're actually saying it. So that's kind of what it's focusing on within dominance. And then thirdly is going to be the argument. And this is the extent to which some rationale for the sought after action is present. And then finally is going to be the control over outcomes. And this is source control over reason for compliance. So again, this is just a brief synopsis of the goals, plans, action theory. We went a little deeper and evaluated each segment, and we can understand once again, goals, plans, action theory is really focused on this message production and having these goals, taking out the plans to have these goals, and then finally carrying out those plans to truly obtain those goals through action. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah.